The break room is.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Personnel Administration and Higher Education Committee meeting. It's February 1st. I'd like to welcome our new supervisors, Supervisor Itu, Mayday, and Bean. Thank you, gentlemen, for showing up today. Please feel free to ask any questions because the more you know, the more you can help us make good decisions. So start by calling for a motion to approve the minutes for the prior meetings. Supervisor Itu, Supervisor Driscoll, thank you. Any discussion, changes? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries. Privilege of the floor. Anyone from the public having any public comments? Seeing none. Next on the action agenda, Dr. Duffy, a report on the college. Good to see you.
Morning, everyone. I come with presents, and you might call them handouts.
Handouts are better.
Presents are cookies and chocolate.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Kind of overshot on the. Well, good morning and happy new year, even though we're now into February, but thank you for having me today. I'll do a very brief update on the college, and then you do have an item that we're asking the Board of Supervisors to support. But first, our spring semester started on January 22nd, and I'm happy to report that we are up in our new student enrollment, which was really great to see. In fact, a number that's higher than where we were in 2018. So that's a good trend for us to see. And we're back in action as always, and this semester flies by very quickly. We have been successful in receiving a few grants that I wanted to tell you about. The first is about a $1.2 million grant that we received through SUNY called the Future of Work Center grant, and it's primarily focused on healthcare. We all know that the healthcare worker shortage continues, and this grant will particularly allow us to bring back, we formerly had training in CNA, Certified Nursing Assistant, Home Health Aide, and Personal Care Assistant through a previous grant through the Department of Health, the National Department of Health, which not only provided training for free for those who qualify, but also the wraparound services, as we call them, to help support people as they're going through their training to ideally get on a career path in healthcare. So we've been able to bring those trainings back through this grant funding, and it will provide not only the training for people to be able to enter into some of those entry-level fields, but also support them with some of the out-of-pocket costs that tend to happen when someone is maybe going back to school to retrain. So we're happy to be able to bring that back to the community, both here in Kingsbury in this region as well as in Saratoga. We've also been successful, and we just hired our first, what we're calling our employer partnership manager. Someone that's really focused on going out and talking specifically with employers about how we can continue to enhance our work with our local employers. We do this through various departments, but there's no central person that's focused on it on a daily basis. So we're grateful to some grants that we got through the SUNY system to be able to hire someone to really help make sure that the education and the training that we're offering is meeting the needs of our local employers. We all know that hiring is still a challenge for everyone, and so we want to continue to be a partner with everyone who needs our assistance. And also in that vein, we're also ramping up some resources to help more students identify a career path earlier in the college career. Anyone who's had a child go through college has experienced I don't know what I want to do with my life. And quite frankly, at 18, I'm not sure most people do, and sometimes even at later in life. So, but we want to do our best to help students identify, what they're interested in. Again, we haven't really had the resources to have one person dedicated to that work. And now, again, through a grant, we've been able to hire someone who just started last week who'll be working with our students to help them identify their paths. So just a few highlights I wanted to share with you, but the main purpose that I'm here today to share with you is we are in state budget advocacy season, as you know, And the community college sector has been hard at work really since about September, trying to develop our strategy on how to advocate to the state for increasing their statutory requirements in terms of supporting the community college sector. So what I've handed out to you are a couple things. The first sheet, the one with the picture on the top and talking about equitable funding. We spent a great deal of time looking at data to better understand where the state's funding equates to our counties. In the past, we've heard things like, well, your counties aren't keeping up their end of the bargain. And for those who are new to this board and may not be as familiar with our funding model in the state, the community college sector of SUNY, not SUNY as a whole, the community colleges are funded really in three primary ways: state, counties, and student tuition. And when community colleges were established, it was the hope that there would be an even split, a third, a third, a third. That really has never happened. And as time has gone on, as state funding has declined, as counties have been challenged by all the other mandates that are in front of them, the students have tended to bear the largest burden of those costs. So our tuition revenue as a percentage of our operating budget is well over 40%. Thanks to you and to Washington County last year for acknowledging and being willing to commit to a 5-year plan to gradually increase our county sponsor support. That really will bring you up eventually to that third when we add in other county chargebacks. The state still remains at the lowest part of that model. So we actually looked at data to say how much did the state contribute in 21-22 and how much did the counties across the state contribute to the community college sector. And that includes both your direct sponsor support as well as what we call chargebacks. And for those of you who've been around, a chargeback is essentially any student that comes to a community college that's outside of their sponsored area. That county is charged back the same amount per student as what you pay. And so when we added all of that up, it turns out that our counties across the state are contributing about $525 million annually to the community college sector, and the state is contributing about 428. So in fact, the counties are doing their share, and we want to just ask the state to bring their share up to what the counties are contributing. That's where we came up with a $97 million ask from the state to bring their county or to bring their funding equitably to the counties. So the data that you have in front of you is actual data. We didn't just get 97 million out of the sky. It really would help to now even the playing field between the counties and the states, and potentially reduce the amount that we're asking students to pay as we continue to raise tuition to try to make up for the gap in funding to operate our institutions. So we've been working hard with the state leadership, the governor's office, the legislature, SUNY to help advocate on our behalf. And we're asking our county sponsors, all of my peers across the state are asking as well, to ask you to just advocate on our behalf by passing a resolution in support of this advocacy measure. We're not asking you for any additional funds. We're just asking for you to lend your support as the sponsors of your local community college. The second piece that I handed out to you is kind of the companion to this. So what would we do with all this money? We would operate our colleges, we believe, even better, but more specifically, address the continued workforce demand that we're all concerned about. So we've developed a proposal as sort of like, here's the money, here's what we would do with it, the Empire State Community College Workforce Guarantee. We're saying to New York State, if you fund us equitably, increase our funding, we will guarantee that we will train at least 20,000 workers in New York State with this additional funding. And especially in our high demand, high cost programs. The programs that typically employers want us to start or that are in demand in the region are generally high cost, meaning equipment heavy. Maybe, for example, in nursing, we have to have a small ratio of faculty to students in order to meet accreditation requirements. And those just add cost to the college. So what we're asking the state to do is you invest in us. We will continue to invest in programs that the state is needing. So what I'm asking you today is to consider forwarding a resolution to the full board at your February meeting. And that resolution, if it's passed, could then be sent on to the governor's office to just simply add your voice to this important matter that we think, and we would hope that you would agree is important for our community. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I kind of crammed a lot of information into a short period of time. I want to be respectful of your time, but I'm happy to explain further, or if you have any additional.
Any questions, comments by the committee? Reservito.
I assume other community colleges in the state aren't receiving their equitable amount from the state. Are you,
Correct.
did you say, or are you working with them as a united front?
Oh, yes, yes. If I didn't say that clearly, yes. The New York Community College Association of Presidents, as all the presidents, all of the trustees at every single campus have signed on to this advocacy strategy. So yes, we're all on a united front for sure. In fact, other counties have already passed these resolutions. Some counties even have gone so far as to put a public notice out to ask for others. I should have mentioned that one of our strategies has been to ask our key employers to also advocate on our behalf. And I'm happy to say that we got some great response from some of our largest employers in the area to write letters on our behalf. So we feel really confident that there's a lot of good community support for what we're trying to accomplish. The data doesn't lie. It's now a matter of recognizing the state has multiple priorities, and we appreciate that. But the community college sector has been underfunded for over a decade now. The funding that we would be slated to receive if the governor's budget held would be a flat funding for the fourth year in a row. And I'm not sure any business could say that they can operate in this environment in particular on the same funding as they've received 4 years ago, much less 10 years ago.
Thank you, Chairman. Chris, do you see, if the state kind of agrees to this, they're proposing a similar, like 5-year plan that the counties did in order to reach that, that goal? I mean, is that part of the ask, I guess?
It's not,
No, okay,
but you know, would we work with people? Of course.
okay.
But I think waiting for that amount for 5 years is really not going to make the impact that we think this can.
So I need to ask, well, what is the intention of the committee? Do we want to have a resolution in support of community colleges to the state? Yeah. I don't think we need a resolution now. There's a draft resolution in here.
We provided you a template to consider as the resolution.
That resolution, it starts at 3.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. So, is this something I need to read into the record? Good. Just a motion. Okay. Motion to approve. Supervisor Driscoll, Supervisor Ito on the second. All those in, if there's any questions, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's approved. Thank you, Dr. Duffy. Next on the agenda, Human Resources Director, Jackie, any comments, questions, insights for us today? Nothing? We have to work on that. There has to be something happening. Moving on, Clerk of the Board, Amanda.
This request to amend resolution number 24 of 2004, which designates a warrant and the prison management officer, or the county warrant update authority. I think I put the draft, the last resolution in here. Yeah, so the last resolution specifically designated, Dan Vogel as the record management officer. We kind of changed that to say county.
Okay, motion to bring this to the floor. Supervisor Ito, a second by Supervisor Thomas. Thank you. Any questions, comments? We'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously also. Thank you.
Then our other item I had on here, we're going to have Tim Murphy coming to, there's an increased cost related to autopsy services that he wanted to talk about. Mine shows up, come back to that one.
Absolutely. Thank you. We can do that. Item number 4. Right, was something that brought by the criminal justice, but we've been asked to table this. Do we need to have a vote on a tabling?
Stay on the agenda for next month. I would say you should table it. Or send it back, or make a motion, send it back.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. What we've requested with these are out of cycle pay increase request. There are 2 of them. There's one under item 4 and items 11, D, and E. And last year, we amended the rules of the board to not accept out of cycle pay increases. We're going to discuss these during the budget cycle. So I would request that the committee table these to the next budget cycle. So it wouldn't come up next month. It would, we'd discuss them in the budget cycle.
You wouldn't want to table them in this committee then, because if you table it, then you're just gonna come back here. I would say you actually want to refer these back to committee with the note that it's going to be in the budget cycle. If you table it here, it's going to stay technically in this committee.
Okay.
until the budget year.
Now, the first one you can refer back to committee, but the items under 11, this is the committee.
Those ones, those are Larry or the county attorneys, if you want to table those to come back. I would just address them separately. How do you want to deal with?
Okay.
So the suggestion is to refer this back to the Criminal Justice Committee. Do we need to vote on that?
I would say you need a consensus of the committee to refer to justice with the notation that this will be addressed in the next budget cycle.
Okay. If everyone understood what the clerk just mentioned, we have a motion. We need a motion or just a vote? I'm sorry. Just a consensus?
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor, give me a nod.
Aye.
Looks like we're here, so we'll send that back to committee. Next on the list, referral from Health Services Committee, Office of the Aging. I'm not sure if I see D, but this was a request for a new position, a services assistant, Office for the Aging, grade 5 or number 5, grade 7, base salary $43,187, and delete the position of services assistant, Office of the Aging, part-time number 2.
I can speak to this if you like.
Would you like to?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a position for, as some of you know, maybe the new supervisors do not realize, the Office of the Aging serves Warren County and Hamilton County. And this is a position for Hamilton County specifically to do Office of the Aging work with respect to Hamilton County, and it'll be paid for by Hamilton County. So no additional cost to Warren County.
So this is a motion to bring this to the floor. Supervisor Thomas, need a second? Supervisor Molino, thank you. Any discussion with this? I have one question. Has Hamilton County agreed to fund this position? They have. Okay. So I'll call the question. There's no other questions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes also. Number 6, Human Resources. Supervisor Driscoll. So there was a mistake in budgeting with the Assistant Social Services Attorney. And it was planned to go from 20 hours to 32 hours a week. But there was a mistake in budgeting, like I mentioned. So there's a request to adjust the budget on this point. So Thomas, you moved that? Second by Supervisor Etu. Any discussion, question? It was easy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Number 7, Economic and Growth. This is a new position for GIS specialist. Basically, it's due to retirement of one individual. And we're going to delete the prior position. There's dollars in the budget for that. And actually the salary is I think the salary is reduced. New position is higher, but this is in the budget was planned for, so, motion to bring this to the floor, Supervisor Driscoll, Supervisor Bean, thank you. Any questions, comments, discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, that carries. Number 8, tourism and occupancy tax. Request to amend the table of organization and salary schedule to create a new position of marketing coordinator, and deleting a creative director. And basically what we're doing is we're adding a new position of $70,401 and deleting the prior salary of $94,382. Motion to bring this to the floor. Supervisor Bean, thank you. A second. Supervisor Merlino, thank you. Any questions, comments?
It's just a savings of 25,000, so it makes it easier.
So any other questions, comments? Not seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries also. Number 9, request by the county administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We could take A and B together, I believe. These were just errors in calculation when we calculated the 2.85% increase for out of unit folks. And each one of these resolutions actually reduced the salary from, you can see the first one, deputy fire coordinator, from 8891 to 8680. And the other one for the fire training center position from 7400 to 7200. Again, those were just errors when we calculated the increases.
Motion both A and B to the floor. Supervisor Thomas, second by Supervisor Etu. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Item 9C, as you all know, Amy Clute retired last month, and we conducted interviews. We advertised the position, looked at the resumes of those that would have been qualified for the position, and there was really only one. But thankfully, that person was Jessica Burnham, who has been the deputy in that organization for the last 11 years. So very qualified to take the position of self-insurance administrator, and we would request to appoint her in that role at that salary.
Motion to bring 9C. Supervisor Driscoll, thank you. Supervisor Bean on the second. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries also.
Item 9D is to request to appoint Nina Mastriani as Commissioner of the Department of Social Services at her current annual salary. So for those of you who don't know, our Commissioner of Social Services, who was appointed in January of last year, I believe, retired in August. And so we appointed his deputy, Nina Mastriani, as the acting commissioner of the Department of Social Services. What we found is, as acting commissioner, she cannot do some of the things that we need her to serve in this position. So the authorities to serve in the position. So she's done a phenomenal job, and we would like to appoint her as the Commissioner of Social Services. And this is for a 5-year term. It would begin when the resolution is approved.
So we need a motion to bring 5C. Supervisor Thomas, Supervisor Molino on the second. Questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The county attorney.
No,
No, we have one more. Oh,
Skip.
IT director.
Catch up.
I'm sorry, my agenda is, this doesn't happen. I'm good. I'll make it happen. So for the director of IT, Mr. Colvin, is he here? Mike,
Sure.
help us out with this if you don't mind. Help me specifically here.
So the first one is requesting to enter a contract with Spectrum to increase a connection we have to 333 Glen Street. We had two offices down there. Now we have a third office down there, and we're finding it cheaper and faster if we have one good connection. And so the first one is to ask to do that. On my resolution request I put in, I did make a mistake where it's under H versus termination of the contract. My printed one that I provided says until completion. That was a copy and paste error. It should say 3 years after execution, and then it goes month after that. So we're just looking to increase that speed and save some money for the additional offices we have down there.
Motion to bring this to the floor. Supervisor Molino, Supervisor Etu on the second. Any questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries. Thank you, Mike.
The second request is very similar. It's just that it's for our public internet connection we here at the municipal center. We use it more and more than we ever have. We're kind of beating it up right now and need to increase the speed. So we're looking to do a contract with Spectrum, and because of the copy and paste thing, I did it again, and it's 3 years contract, then month after that, not until completion like it says. So look for approval to enter that contract.
Supervisor Driscoll on the first. We have a second. Supervisor Etu, thank you. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? That carries. Mike?
And then my last request is for reserve fund transfers, 30,000 to the sheriff's office and then 40,000 to the IT office for some planned projects during the year. And with the reserve fund, just so everybody is aware, the money kind of builds up each year, and so we need the money. And then, it takes a while to transfer. So we transfer it now, and we're still looking for alternative ways through grants and everything, but we get the money going. And so we have it when we need it, but we still might not need to spend it. We just got to have it in place. So if the grants don't come through, but we still have a way to get our projects done.
Need a motion to bring this to the floor. Supervisor Molino, Supervisor Etu on the second. Any questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? That carries.
That's all I've got, unless anybody's got some questions for me.
Thank you, Mike. Now that I have the new agenda, I see there's a number 11 by our county attorney, Mr. Allen.
I'll defer to the county administrator to address D and E first.
Thank you, Mr. County Attorney, Mr. Chairman. Basically, this is another out-of-cycle request. I would like to table these items until budget discussions and where we consider pay increases for employees. And how do I do that?
So will the pay increases actually come back from here? You just want Larry to take it to budget?
I just take it to budget. Yeah, that's
You're
what.
just directing Larry to take it to budget.
Okay. All right, good.
Awesome.
Thank
The first 3 items on the agenda involve potential litigation. We can cover them in open session, but if there's any particular or specific questions on any of those 3 proposed agreements, I would ask and recommend we go into an executive session. But let me start with A, which is the request for a retainer agreement with the law firm that has represented the county in the opioid class action lawsuit. So it's the same law firm and the same team in that law firm that would continue to work with Warren County. And this first one is for potential for claims against manufacturers of insulin and other diabetic medication, as well as pharmacy benefit managers or their executives based on allegations of price fixing, engineering kickbacks, and other potential antitrust violations or wrongdoing.
But do we need a motion for all 3? Can we do all 3 together?
Well, if I'll go through all 3, and then if you want to do all 3 together, that would be great. 11B. There's also an engagement letter. That one is focusing on claims against manufacturers of generic pharmaceuticals and their executives regarding price fixing, allocating markets for generic drugs, and other antitrust violations or wrongdoing. The third one, which is item 11C, is an engagement letter for litigation involving negligence against individuals or corporations responsible for injuries or damages suffered by the county arising out of contamination of water supplies related to particular chemical substances commonly referred to as PFAS or PFOA substances. So those would be the three requests for resolution.
These are resolution requests, so we can talk about these in executive session if you'd like, or if anyone is pretty clear about just doing additional retainer fees with our outside counsel. What's the privilege? What's the privilege of the committee?
I'll move it, Chairman, but I also have a very quick question for the attorney.
So any questions
I'd
related to
move
this
all three
litigation?
together, but I just have a
Yeah.
very quick question for the attorney.
Well, what's the question? And we can answer it.
Essentially, is this something that counties across New York State are also going to be putting on their agendas to kind of protect themselves for the future?
Most already have,
Okay,
and there was a recommendation by NISAC that we look strongly at joining these three particular class action lawsuits.
so I mean, if NISAC is recommending it, and many of our colleagues across the state have already or are in the process of doing it, I think it's in our best interest to do the same.
Okay, we had motion by Supervisor Driscoll, second by Supervisor Merlino. And you have a question?
Nope.
No?
I do.
Supervisor Thomas?
Why is one of them 33%, 33 and a third, and the other two were 25?
That's the standards that they fixed for that particular litigation. And it's a standard that's applying to all class members. Typically, I don't want to say typically in class actions, but typically in negligence based claims, it's a 33.3% fee that's taken. The 25% across the legal practice, 25% is below what is typically seen of 33%. I cannot give you a specific answer what is different about one from the others.
Right.
But it's not that the 33% is too high. It's the 25% is lower than what you would typically see
Should be more,
for a contingency fee.
usually.
I would never say it should be more. I think 25%
Could be
would
more.
probably be, and what we know today would probably be just right.
Okay.
And all of that would again also be subject to a final approval, typically by a class administrator. So for example, on the opioid litigation, any fees that are paid are subject to approval over and above what the agreement is. So there is some check at the back end on these class actions to make sure the fee was in fact earned and correct.
Any questions?
Was that someone in Suffolk County? If I recall, when we first entered into this, wasn't that, weren't they the main? Wasn't he the referee or?
On opioids?
Yeah.
Well, my general understanding and knowledge on the opioid lawsuit was the county of Suffolk, along with the Attorney General's office, worked together. They may have been, Nassau County may have been involved, but I'm not 100% sure. But they actually pursued the case on at least one group of pharmaceutical companies through a trial that did occur on Long Island maybe 2 years ago and resulted in a substantial verdict. But that was not the law firm that was representing us or other counties and municipalities. They all got pushed together into one class.
Right.
And were treated differently depending on what their efforts were in the process.
Thanks.
This law firm's located in Suffolk County.
No, this law firm is, I mean, they're a New York law firm. I believe their primary office is in Long Island,
Melville.
but their offices would extend to other cities as well.
So we have a motion for all three, A, B, and C. Any other discussion or questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries. Larry, I know we're going for the next item on your agenda was the executive session, but there was a addendum to the committee that I was just, the committee agenda that I saw just this morning. It's a request from the county treasurer, and I see her here. So the county treasurer would like to come up and address the committee.
I have something in the finance committee.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure, go ahead.
Is that as? I
Sure.
can speak
You
to it.
have, the issue goes before finance. However, it then would have to go to personnel, but we're in a reverse order. So you would have to wait until personnel next month to get approval unless you want to discuss it with personnel today.
Sorry, forgive me, the pending item. Now I realize what you're talking about. Thank you. I thought you were speaking about the other item. Yes, this is this is from the county treasurer's office, and I've been through it with both my team as well as gotten direction from Larry. So this is someone who is on my team who had, before coming to the county, had a certain number of years with ACC.
No, I think this is a different item.
So this is a request by the county treasurer to create a temporary position of payroll technician so that you can hire a person who's retired into that position
Forgive me. It
for
is one I
temporary
thought it was.
basis.
Okay. My apologies. I didn't realize Supervisor Wild, that these continue to update, as we, get closer to the date. So forgive me for that.
I was surprised too. Thank you.
It's okay.
Okay.
It's okay. It's my first time, so I'm figuring that out. So yes, on a very happy, positive note, we were able to promote from within. We had our current payroll, our second in command in payroll. We were able to put her into our accounting, position. But that created a hole in our payroll, our number 2 payroll person. So we are requesting, forgive me one second, I just want to find it. Finance and budget. Here we go. So the payroll technician temp, we're gonna have, that's creating a gap in our payroll area. We want to hire the right person. That may take some time. So what we're doing on an interim basis is we are requesting this new position of payroll technician temp at an annual salary of $27. Someone's just recently retired from another, I believe it's DPW.
PW.
It is DPW. And she's recently retired. She's worked with us. She's a go-to person for our department. She's very knowledgeable. She's a very nice fit. Please realize we know that this is an interim solution. So we are requesting that this be a temporary solution right now. Just know that our longer term goal is to get someone in there long-term that will ultimately replace our number 1 payroll person. Because obviously we need bench and we need, that person will be retiring in a certain amount of years.
And that position is currently being advertised right now. So
It is currently, we do have several good resumes that we're looking at, so I'm not sure if this is gonna be a 2, 3 month, 6 month. But again, it's payroll's a big job in our department, and it's great that this person's gonna be able to help us out on a temporary basis.
So let's have a motion to bring this to the floor. Supervisor Etu, Supervisor Bean, thank you. Any questions, comments? I have one. If it's a temporary position, once you fill it, this position becomes deleted off our rolls, so we don't have an other open position.
That is my understanding.
Any other questions, comments? So let's call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None, it passes.
Apologies for the confusion.
Treasurer, hang for a second. There's something else on a pending item that I just noticed also from the county treasurer's office to find county services related to a retiree health insurance benefits.
Yeah. But that was what I originally started to chat about. Would you like me to take you through that?
It's on the list.
Okay. So this is someone in our department, that was working at SUNY and right before she came here, a couple of years before she came here, I believe the number of years, she didn't quite have the number of years to get, the benefits. So this is a request, to determine whether retiree health insurance benefits can include previous service time at SUNY Adirondack. And then also determine whether a policy should be developed regarding this.
So is this a resolution that's in our package, proposed resolution?
Oh, Mr. Chairman, so basically this was referred, went because the treasurer's committee is finance. The previous treasurer took this to the finance committee last year, and the finance committee referred it to personnel for discussion. Basically what I believe the county attorney is asked, or the treasurer is asking, is that we have a policy that says if you're employed at SUNY and you transfer to work at Warren County, your time at SUNY counts as service to Warren County. That has never been done before. So I don't know if,
Yeah, can I, let me just kind of clarify. The question is very limited. And the issue in the question is limited to health insurance benefits provided by Warren County to its retirees. That's the only issue. And the question presented is, under our current policy, if you retire from Warren County with a minimum of 20 years of service, you qualify to be able to join under retiree health insurance benefits. The question that was presented by the former county treasurer in December or late November was whether we would change that policy to allow the accrual of 20 years for only that purpose, for the purpose of health insurance benefits to a retiree, to include prior service at ACC. So that's really the issue. It's not an issue of pension or any other benefits. That's all handled and administered by the state of New York. The question, that's a policy question, is whether Warren County wants to adopt a policy of allowing either all or some number of years of prior service at ACC to count toward the 20-year total for a Warren County employee who's retired.
So this is not a resolution request. Right now, it's a discussion item. So I'm just curious if anyone has any questions for the county attorney, the administrator.
And then the open questions from the last meeting, as I recall it, was really a question of reciprocity and what policy that institution currently has. Do they have a similar benefit for employees who retire after 20 years? One, and then the second piece is what's Washington County's policy as a bi-county community college? And if they have a similar policy that allows their retirees after 20 years to be part of their health insurance for retirees, would they also consider, or would we require or request a reciprocity back and forth between Washington County and ACC, which were just open questions that needed to be answered. None of which I have the answers to today.
I do not either.
Should we continue this on the pending? If I could make a suggestion, maybe when our attorney could get back to us once he has some more insight.
I'm not sure.
I think I
I will
can,
do what I can to get those answers.
I
but-
think I can get the answers to those two questions. So And unfortunately, I don't have them either.
Are there any other entities that might fall under this same situation? I guess I was thinking about, Cornell Forward Extension.
But other municipalities as well could,
Yeah, I'd be really careful. I think ACC is kind of a unique institution only because the founding members are Washington County and Warren County. That were the sponsors for Adirondack Community College. And I use that name because that's the name, as I understand it, that they're sponsored under. So could we get requests? Sure, we could certainly get requests from employees who are at other public entities. And then it becomes a policy decision for the board if that's something that they want to consider.
Sounds like we're opening Pandora's box.
Yeah,
right?
right.
Or,
Slippery
if
slope.
I might add, or is ACC such a unique situation that it lends itself to, you know, working with this board and working with Warren County, whereas these other municipalities are more arm's length and not as close as ACC?
There's certainly some policy considerations in there. I can identify them. I don't take a position on them. But the ability to encourage and support the transfer of employees from one employer to the other employer, that could be a factor. Of course, you would hope that could be reciprocal and that it's not the county, in theory, taking on college employees who've served a number of years at the college who then want to retire before they're eligible for Medicare and need coverage because maybe the college doesn't provide it until a certain age. You know, I don't know all of those details. But the policy issues would be I would think, to ensure that there's some reciprocity or level playing field, so it's not a flow going one way for expense purposes, but the ability to go in either direction.
So then ACC would be the reciprocating party. If someone worked here
Yeah.
and then went.
Yes.
Yeah, somebody from here could go there and I'm talking theoretically, right?
Yep.
Theoretically, they can go either way. You wouldn't want a scenario, most likely, I think, where somebody works 19 years at one employee, transfers for 1 year and now is getting retiree benefits. So, there would be maybe some number of years as a max that you would want to transfer in or over. So I think all of those are discussion items and policy items. But between the administrator and I, will try to get the basic answers on what each policy is between ACC and Washington County, and if there's an interest in some reciprocal acknowledgement of time only for purposes of health insurance.
Can I ask just one more question? Is it my understanding, if I'm recalling from reading some of the background on this, has Warren County always been 20 years for that benefit? The retiree health benefits?
I wouldn't have any way of
Or has it,
knowing.
has it changed in like the last 5?
Jackie,
Jackie
has
would
the answer
probably
for us.
Sorry, hi, Jen.
No, it changed in 2012 from 10 years.
She came in like 2014. So I just wanted to add just that bit of color. It changed, and because of that, I don't think she's gonna get to the 20 years with the county. And that's why she's asking about her prior substantial years of service with the college. Just a little extra color for everybody.
It's, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, we've listened to this now for several months, go back and forth, back and forth. The problem was the person who's looking for the help believes or says they were verbally told this. It was never memorialized, it was never in writing. And then it comes to a point where we have a policy in place. Well, I was told this, and it just came to light 9 months ago or last year. I'm not sure, Frank, when this first came up. Yeah, so
Into the summer.
that's the situation. This person moved from SUNY Adirondack to Warren County. This health insurance thing, you know, is carved out of the transfer, just the health insurance, nothing. I'm not aware of anything else, because that's all we've talked about. You know, and then we've kind of said, well, if you do it for one, you're gonna open up for many ones, and you know, you say that it's SUNY, but we also have soil and water conservation employees that maybe are paid through the county system. I'm not sure 100% of that, and you have some other people who are doing that. It's unfortunate, but it should have been written down. It should have been in a personnel file. And I don't know when it happened, but I know our HR, we have certain rules in HR that we follow. And if you do this, you could open it up for anybody else to say, well, you know, I don't know if it involves anybody else in the county. But that's the only thing with this. It's unfortunate. When did you say the rule was changed?
2012?
Well,
2012.
2012, yeah, there was the negotiations in 2012, which I was involved with. We changed a lot of the contract stuff was changed in 2012 going forward because of the cost of the county. But I mean, I'm not out to hurt any one person, but I think we've asked before, is there anybody else out there could come forward with the same request we don't know about? And I'm not sure that happens. So that's everything I'll say about it. You know, these things, when these happen, they need to be memorialized and written down, and then agreed to.
At the time.
It is something else that some of our benefits work through the county. Doesn't some of the SUNY benefits work through the county or no?
I think, the retirement.
You know, Christine, does the health insurance to SUNY work through the county or not?
No, it does not.
It does
They have
not,
their
so it's
own.
separate.
Because I just had a discussion with them. For example, they are using Humana and they're going to make the same change that we made because of Humana. So they have their separate health
They
retirement.
have their separate benefit package. I don't know, and then we gotta ask Washington County, who picks up the cost? Is Warren County gonna pick up full cost? That's just what I remember a conversation we've had, so.
Well. you have something
Chairman,
else?
yeah,
Of course.
I think I'd like to say that it sounds like between the county attorney, the HR director and myself, we need to come back to the committee with a more clear explanation of this, and we'll, if you want to, discuss it next month, we can bring it back next month.
At the privilege of the committee next month, some more discussion. Okay, thanks. Move that forward. So back to the regular agenda. Larry, item F. Request for executive session. I'll let you read that.
Yeah, it would be a request for executive session under section 105 1D of the Public Officers Law to discuss proposed pending and current litigation. And it would be for each of the matters that are set forth on the agenda, which is two lawsuits the county has against Continental Insurance Company, a Child Victim Act case against Warren County by John David Smith, and a second Child Victim Act case against the county by Michael Easterbrooks. There's a third Child Victim Act case I listed, Joshua Rouse against Warren County. That may be part of the discussion as well.
So motion to bring this to the floor. Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to also request that since we're going into executive session, we'd like to discuss the ethics board, and that would be under item F, I believe.
Yeah, it would be to discuss a particular person and matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal under section 105 1F. And I would also ask if the county treasurer can be permitted to stay for the litigation discussion.
Motion by Supervisor
No,
Molina.
no, no,
Sorry.
just a question before we go in. Did we skip D and E?
Yes,
Yes.
Oh, okay. I just, we were right there. Okay. We didn't get it because I have a question on D and E, but go ahead. Now you can go in.
So I need a motion.
Motion.
First by Supervisor Bean, Supervisor Etu on the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We are entering executive session.